The moon is shining brightly, and the surface of the calm water is gradually covered by thick fog. Suddenly, the eerie silence is shattered by the creaking of wooden planks. Through the mist, you can make out the outlines of an old ship, emanating an eerie chill from its rusty hull. But what's even more terrifying is that there is no one on the deck. The ship is sailing on its own. This is not the mythical Flying Dutchman, but a very real ghost ship. On September 2, 2019, the British Royal Navy icebreaker named Mist Protector is sailing on the tranquil waters of the Atlantic Ocean. It's 11 o'clock in the evening, and some crew members are wandering on deck while others are sleeping in their cabins. The captain steers the ship and gazes intently at the horizon, which is illuminated by orange twilight, with distant clouds drifting by. Suddenly, against the backdrop of this picturesque scene, one of the sailors spots the dark silhouette of an unknown ship. The captain slows down and directs the ship closer to this mysterious vessel. Before the crew stands an old cargo ship measuring 75 meters in length. Attempts to contact the crew members lead to no avail, and it becomes clear that the ship is sailing on its own. There is not a soul on board, at least not a living one. The ship's deck creaks as the sun sets behind the horizon, casting darkness over the vessel. The ship looks intimidating, and the sailors dare not board it. They take photographs of the mysterious ship, upload the photos to the internet, and sail away. Many internet users come to the conclusion that the sailors have discovered a genuine ghost ship. 5 months pass, and we shift the scene to the village of Ballacattan in County Cork, Ireland. Early one morning, a local resident steps out of his house for a run. With music in his headphones, the fresh air and picturesque landscape create perfect conditions for his workout. The runner heads along the road that runs alongside the Celtic Sea. There had been a strong storm, but now the sea is calm. As he runs along the crest of a low cliff, the man notices something massive among the rocks on the shore. An old rusty cargo ship measuring 75 meters in length. There is no one nearby. It appears as though the ship has been here for an eternity. However, local residents are certain that it was not here just yesterday. It later becomes clear that this is the same ship that sailors spotted 1,000 kilometers away 5 months ago. The cargo ship, known as the Alta, was built in 1976. Nobody knows who had been using it and for what purposes during all this time. What is known is that in 2017, the ship acquired a new owner who adorned it with the flag of Tanzania. It's worth noting that almost all cargo ships are equipped with an automatic identification system that helps track their movements in the ocean. Since 2015, something strange began to happen with the Alto and its eyes system. The ship would disappear from satellites and then reappear. Over the past few years, the ship changed names and flags several times. It's not surprising that the identification system was disabled multiple times. It is said that it is sometimes intentionally turned off to conceal illegal activities. The captain of the ship clearly didn't want to reveal its direction. In 2017, the ship sailed near Greece, making 12 stops in 3 different port cities across the country before the eye signal vanished. 10 months later, the Alta reappeared, but this time off the North African coast, 2,000 kilometers from Greece. In September 2018, the ship was approximately 2,200 kilometers southeast of the Bermuda Islands. It was then that the crew of the Alta, consisting of 10 people, encountered problems. On September 19, 2018, the ship's engine failed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The ship was far from shore and began to drift. Days went by, but the crew couldn't repair the engine, and their food supplies were running low. The team began to panic and made desperate attempts to contact land. The situation was exacerbated by the fact that a hurricane was rapidly approaching the ship. Finally, a member of the crew managed to establish contact with the United States Coast Guard on October 2nd. A helicopter was dispatched to the Alta, and provisions were offloaded, providing enough supplies for the crew to survive for several days. Approximately a week later, a rescue boat traveled around 2,400 kilometers to reach them and assist the stranded sailors. The crew was rescued shortly before the hurricane began. All the sailors were transported to Puerto Rico, and the Alta was left adrift in the ocean. After some time, another ship arrived at the location of the breakdown to tow it to the shores of Guyana. However, their plans were thwarted as the ship was inexplicably seized. The identity of those who did it and the reasons behind it remain a mystery. But for some unknown reason, the thieves later decided to abandon the ship and left it drifting at sea. The ship's whereabouts remained untraceable for nearly a year. Then, in September 2019, the British Royal Navy discovered the Alta. How the Alta managed to cross the entire Atlantic Ocean and end up off the coast of Ireland remains a puzzle. An investigation was immediately launched in the country to identify the ship's owner and find someone who could tow the found ship. However, this task has yet to be resolved. At one point, an unknown individual contacted Irish authorities claiming to be the owner of the ship but failed to provide any evidence. Several barrels of oil were found on board the Alta. The dismantling of the ship is estimated to cost around 10 million euros, and local residents are deeply concerned about the environmental damage caused by metal corrosion. Local teenagers have also breached the ship multiple times, uploading videos taken inside the abandoned vessel to the internet. The further fate of the Alta remains unknown, and the ship still rests on the shore. It drifted without control for only 2 years. Now imagine a ship that drifted on the waves for a staggering 38 years. During all this time, nobody managed to locate it, and the search continues to this day. This ship is called the Chima. It was formerly a trading vessel owned by a Canadian trading company. In 1931, the ship got stuck in ice off the coast of Alaska during a severe blizzard. The crew waited for a week for the storm to subside, but it only grew stronger. Eventually, when the weather improved slightly, parts of the crew were evacuated to the nearest town. Another part of the crew, along with the captain, set up a camp near the ship. Another storm soon hit, and it lasted for a very long time. The blizzard was so intense that nothing could be seen at arm's length. Finally, when the storm calmed down, the captain noticed that the ship had disappeared. He assumed that the Chima had sunk. However, a week later, the ship was found drifting not far from where it had vanished. The ship's hull was severely damaged, making it seem unsafe to use, so the captain decided to abandon it. However, the ship did not sink. For the next 38 years, it drifted in various locations near the coast of Alaska. Several attempts were made to salvage the ship, including efforts by indigenous Alaskan residents and research teams. However, all rescue operations ended in failure due to drifting ice and adverse weather conditions. The last time the ship was seen was in 1969. Later, it ended up in ice captivity. In 2006, the government launched a special project to locate it. But all these years, the ship has remained undiscovered. Its fate remains unknown. It is quite likely that the ship finally found the long-awaited rest.
Victory is in sight.